black. Select the intro scene. All right. Gonna send us in. We are going live in 5, 4, 3.
Like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for February 14th, 2025. Wanted to say Friday. I mean, it is Friday, but I don't usually say that. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, love is dead as the Elden Ring Nightreign network test encounters major problems on PlayStation. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Tamoor Hussain. Tam, how are you doing?
I am here and I am alive. What more do you want from me? Huh?
All right. Okay. You know what? I was going to ask more, but now I'm feeling like egg on my face. What am I thinking?
It's also, it's All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yep.
It's being held in the Yay area.
How?
So I'm expecting to hear a lot of E4E being blasted, maybe some Too Short.
Yada to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Tam, how are NBA fans feeling about the All-Star game right now? Because All-Star games kind of across the board being, kind of crappy.
So it's not been great for the last couple years. So this year's one was created in collaboration with the greatest basketball player of all time, the one and only number 30, Steph Curry.
Of course.
So they hit him up and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna come to your backyard. We're coming to your house. So what should we do with this NBA thing?" And now there's a tournament format, which is going to be cool.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think at one point the rookies are like the best rookies are going up against like the best vets, which is bound to cause some intense play. Because those vets don't want to lose to no rookies, and rookies want to beat some vets.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting.
That's always the thing. It's like, I just want to see at least some interesting game play. And usually in these All-Star games, you don't get that. So you have to create some sort of stakes. So hopefully that works.
I'm on the other side where I'm like, we still have a season to play. So I'd prefer it if Steph didn't go like dumb hard on like a goof game.
Right. That's the right move. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. That's
but they
the
have
thing. Yeah, go ahead.
They have like 4 days off to recover. Hopefully, we played the Warriors. I say I didn't touch a ball. I had no impact on that game.
Everyone knows.
The Warriors played the Houston Rockets yesterday. Houston Rockets, I believe, are 3rd or 4th in the conference, and we beat them, which was good. It was a bit touch and go. The Warriors are doing this thing where if they play a dog shit team, they will somehow lose. If they play the best team in the NBA, they will cook them.
Yep.
So I don't know what is going on over there, but we got Jimmy Buckets now.
That seems like it's going to go pretty good.
It's going well so far.
Yep,
He's doing it. He's showing up. He's been playing really well, and then he did like interviews, and he was like, "I'm not in basketball shape. I didn't play for a month, so I need to get fit, and I still haven't learned any of the actual like plays and offensive plays. So he's still getting warmed up, which is good.
Yep,
I'm excited about that.
Yep, enjoy your All-Star weekend. It's also the Four Nations tournament still happen for hockey, and it's kind of like, it's been really good. But you're right, they're all really trying because they're playing for their nations, and they're like getting in scraps after the plays, like not fist fights like happens in hockey, but like, hey, pushing and shoving and people being thrown into the net and stuff like that because they're playing hard. And there's already been a couple of injuries. And it's like, oh man, they got to go back and play for their teams after this. And some of them are going to be hurt now because of this. So it's like, okay, these games have been amazing, but is that worth it? It's tough. It's a balance.
Yeah. What's the state of hockey video games like right now? Because NBA, like basketball games aren't. Well, there's the 2K games and they're great, but like they're too sim for me. Like I'm a jam guy, but what's it like over there?
It's NHL from EA. And that's about it. There are more indie hockey games, like arcade games, happening than ever before. None of them have really like hit super hard. That puck game was a lot of fun. That first person hockey game that we played on the site a couple like last week, I think. and that one's weird because like you have full stick control with the mouse, so you can like lift it up and down and left and right, and it's very difficult. It's like QWOP but hockey. That's actually it's a really good time. And then there's kind of nothing in between that and EA's attempt at a sim game that has been pretty rough for years. I was just going to say, like, we used to have it so good, Tam. We used to get so many different kinds of all these sports games, arcade games, sim games, everything in between. That was legit just better. I know it's always like, oh, things used to be better. You can't always say that. That actually was better.
My quest, remember I talked about trying to play NBA Jam on a modern console.
Yeah.
It's been fruitless, sadly. But I noticed that NetEase have a game coming up called Dunk Dynasty. Dunk City Dynasty.
Okay. Does it star the cast of Duck Dynasty?
I wish. It looks like I think it's the most free-to-play ass game.
Of course.
It's like a 5v5 game, but it's got like stylized versions of modern basketball players. Like it's got like James Harden, Steph's in there, Kevin Durant is in there, Giannis is in there, and then Joel Embiid, absolute bum, fucking is also there as well. For some reason, my man's on break full time, getting paid for it.
I like those weird mobile games that happen a lot of times based on these sports. Like, oh wait, they're still doing those. They are all kind of trash, but they somehow always also get major stars to be in them. So it's fun to see.
Yeah. If anyone knows how I can play NBA Jam, not the original one, right? Because I know how to play the original one. I'm good with that.
It is backward compatible, but you have to buy a disc, right? And those are hard to come by.
No, it's the On Fire edition is the only one that I think is available.
And that was Xbox
to
Live
buy
or whatever.
And the one that you need is a different one.
Ugh.
I think that's how it is. It's weird.
All right.
Something weirdness with that.
Well, his Lord Xenu has some answers for you. That may or may not be the name of an emulator. Actually, is it Zemu or Xenu? I can't remember.
I have already explored the emulator route, which works for me, and it is good. But like, I don't want to sit in front of a fucking laptop to play NBA Jam, man.
Get it on your Steam Deck or something. Get that going.
Yeah.
Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Switch 2 units are reportedly selling for $40,000 on the Chinese black market. This is from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. According to a recent post on the Switch 2 subreddit, this via WCCF Tech, early units of Nintendo's upcoming new console are being sold on the Chinese black market for nearly 40 Gs. This is supposedly sourced via the same leaker from the Zhanghaoshu forums.
Give that another go.
Zhanghaoshu?
I like that one better. I don't know what it is, but I like that one better.
Now, what's worth feeling? Dominic DeCoco. Forums who revealed that the CAD model for the Switch 2 in 2024. So the people that did that also apparently are selling them for $40,000. They're selling them with an accompanying screenshot showcasing messages between the leaker and the post had accompanying messages that showcased the conversation between the leaker and a black market seller, albeit with much of the detail blurred out. You have to wonder why anyone would be willing to spend so much on an early Switch 2 unit, but the theory is that the leaker is effectively shopping the unit out to accessory manufacturers. Building products based on specs alone is one thing, but having the ability to actually test out accessories with a real Switch 2 unit might well be worth the hassle and money given the potential payoff in the months and years ahead. Of course, it's possible that this could all be a load of rubbish, but you know what these leakers are like. Give it a few weeks and we'll probably see blurry, cropped images of the unit itself on FAMI boards or something like that.
This text conversation looks suspicious as hell. Like,
yes.
It's not even, yo, my uncle has this, do you want it? It's just like, I have. Yep. Do you want? Yes. How much? You know what? I can make that shit, man. I'm not saying it's not out there, but you know.
I mean, yeah, but the point here clearly is just that it's getting wild out there for the Switch 2, and the fact that whether this is real or not real, or if it's happening, it's the kind of thing like I can imagine this being real because people have just gone nuts, and they know when Nintendo was promising to talk about it next April 2nd. Yeah, people still have very little chill when it comes to waiting for that.
Who's paying 40 grand for that? Come on, man. What are you getting out of that? You're getting like an early version. You cannot resell that thing. Like you can't be like, I bought an early version of the Switch and now I've got a one of a kind thing. Because the moment you try and sell that or show it to anyone, Nintendo is gonna stick a knife through your throat immediately. Like you're cooked. Yes, you're done. So what are you doing with this thing?
It's not even like
it's just for your own benefit. You're like, I lost 40 grand. I have this bundle of wires and PCBs that is the Switch 2.
They wouldn't even like get Interpol or the FBI involved or whatever. Nintendo would be like, we'll handle this ourselves and just disintegrate you. Just melt you where you stand.
Tell Sakurai he can make his YouTube video tomorrow. We need him for something. And Sakurai just straps up and he's like, this is why it takes me so long to make Smash games. I have to fucking kill 800 people in between.
In-house assassin, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I like to imagine that when Sakurai's not making Smash, he's basically living the John Wick lifestyle.
Yes. It's that, what was that movie where the guy was the game show host and he like used like the award for the show was like, oh, the couple gets to travel around the world, and it's like, you're traveling to Moscow because he needed to go to Moscow to secretly assassinate someone. That
sounds amazing.
That's what Sakurai's doing. He's out there living that life. Okay, yeah, $40,000. You're right. What are you thinking? I get the like theory here of you pay that money and then you take the thing around and you go to all these Chinese manufacturers who won't care where you got it from, and they see like the chance to like get out ahead of the curve and have products ready to go for the Switch 2 launch because they got a model early and were able to test it out, make sure everything worked. Sure.
Are they paying for that access? I imagine they are, right?
Yeah, I think they would pay for that access. At least, again, this is all just speculation. I could see that being the way things work, though. I wouldn't be too surprised if that's mostly the way a lot of this stuff went down. Although, they really can make these things based on the CAD models. Sure, it'd be better to have a physical hardware, but you take the CAD models, you 3D print your own thing, and get as close as you can.
I have seen Switch 2 accessories that people have made in person and held them in my hand. And it's like, oh, so this is what the Switch is going to feel like. I've held like a 3D version of the Switch too. Because it was like knocking on. Yeah, it was whatever. It's everyone's. You don't need to pay 40 grand for it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Mad one.
I'm like skeptical that it even turns on this $40,000 Switch 2.
Definitely not.
And if it does, it's like booting into the BIOS or whatever, and you can't even get into the operating system. So
no chance. Yeah, it's just a dumb thing that someone is doing. Probably, if it's real, it's just like, why are you doing this? Good for you, man.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, wait a couple weeks, and we're gonna get all kinds of more information.
I have a request for you. I need you to load up your soundboard with, the kind of announcements on Street Fighter 2 when they go to a different country where it's like China. You should have one of those ready for each area so that if we were on this story, you would have pressed that and it would have been like China, and then you could like carry on.
I actually love that. I can even get like the motion graphics to come up with like the Stream Deck so it can like, go China and then actually has the plane flying or whatever.
Yeah, you can like
Thailand.
USSR.
Yeah, USSR.
Thailand.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
England. Super Street Fighter 2 when they put Cammy in there. England was the one like, why are you doing it like this for?
You have changed up your energy for this now.
What's going on?
Super England. FromSoftware apologizes for Elden Ring Nightreign test server problems. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. FromSoftware has issued an apology for the connection issues currently plaguing the Elden Ring Nightreign network test. FromSoftware's Japanese player support account on Twitter said that servers are currently congested, which is making it difficult for players to match with each other. The account suggested to continue trying and apologized for any inconvenience. It seems that like the PlayStation servers are being hit particularly hard. Nightfare... Yeah, go ahead.
It's crazy that they have to apologize for this thing when the express purpose is for this to happen.
Yep.
It's like, it's for any developer. This happens with all developers. Like, we're so sorry that you cannot connect to this network test.
I'm always like, man, I couldn't do that job where I wrote this message, because I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry you couldn't connect. Well, let's give you your money back. Oh, you didn't pay for anything? Okay. Well, then what? Go do something else with your time. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, again, it's a symptom of people thinking these parts of the kind of cycle are owed to them, and also it's like, you know, the publishers shouldn't use this as a marketing beat. Like, I don't think FromSoftware does that. There are a few companies that'll be like, if you play early, you can get into our beta test, if you know what I mean. Which is like, if you did that, then you've got a leg to stand on where you're complaining that you can't get in. But I think most people should be like a little more. I think companies should be a little more clear about stuff breaking, especially from like, they're not super well versed in like large scale networking in games. Even their like core games, they almost have a kind of like a drip feed of networking in their games, unless you go into PvP and that kind of stuff. But this is the first game that they've made which is like very focused on the network element of it. They should just come out and been like, big text, this is going to break, it's the point, do not complain.
Yep. And you can see, like, of course, there's going to be conflicting desires of what the different sides want to get out of this. You know, FromSoftware clearly just actually wants to test and see if this is going to work. And then Bandai Namco's like, great, we will kind of like position it as like a big, exciting thing for fans so they could start building up momentum for the marketing. And I'm sure FromSoft's like, oh, okay, that's great. But no, like, we have a specific purpose here.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We went to a preview event and the networking was like not great there. Like it had stumbles and that kind of stuff, and it meant we were limited in how long we could play. Like we were getting like one player would get kicked out like halfway through a run and that kind of stuff. And I remember like the Namco people, just like the Bandai people, freaking out. They were like, "Oh my god, this sucks." And I was just like, "Hey man, you do not have to worry about it. This is the point. Like, this is gonna happen. Just it will be fine." Like, I'm playing enough to get a good feel for it. And I felt so bad for them because it felt like they owed us something, which I guess they might have, considering like we flew out there and, you know, that kind of stuff. And they had like, you know, an intention to have like preview coverage out of this. But I was just like, it's an online game pre-release in a very weird environment where your networking isn't ideal in any way. This is gonna happen. And I was just like, oh man, I wish they didn't feel this like under the gun to have a perfect experience already. And like, I played it enough to write a preview and also like talk about it, so I had no issues with it. But yeah, it was bumpy. That's what it's going to be. Like, it's going to be that. It will probably be that way when it launches.
Yeah, that's what I suppose I'm going to ask you. What is your expectation level for the stability at launch? I'm with you. I think that it's probably going to be rough.
Almost every like multiplayer focused game has had a rough go of it to begin with, or has a high chance of it. I can't think of very many games that came out and launched perfectly, like no issues. I guess the only ones that I could reliably say now, oh, it's going to be fine, is Call of Duty. But that's because it scaled up. Remember Modern Warfare, like the first one, when Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out? I remember having a rough time with that beta.
Yeah, good point.
And also when the game came out, it was a bit rough. But they've had almost a decade of being able to scale up and also use the same kind of infrastructure to move from one to the other game. Like, Overwatch was rough for a little bit. I think the only one that I can really think of recently that didn't have an issue big enough for it to become like newsworthy was probably Marvel Rivals, I think.
Yeah.
Because that as far as I can tell, just launched and has been fine.
Was in testing for a long time, right?
Yeah,
so they had
in testing for a long time. And NetEase is a company that has a lot of online games, much bigger than most people. Like, they got these weird freak games
and
out
games
there
with huge audiences, because China.
Exactly.
Lots of players.
Exactly.
They can handle capacity. Yeah.
And you would, I guess, the expectation most people would say is, well, like Bandai is a huge company. They should be able to hook this up and figure it out. And it's like, they are a huge company. Name the one Bandai game that is online. It's Tekken. Like that's the biggest game they have, and that's a very different kind of infrastructure network wise. Again, like I don't think there's. I'm not trying to make excuses for either of them. I think that I have more willingness to let this stuff figure itself out in the early days. And also, like, I'm just trying not to be entitled to things.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll get this game when it comes out, and like you said, probably be rough. In the meantime, a test going down. I'm not going to let it ruin my time. Clearly this is what they want, because they are only letting people play at certain times, right? So they want to funnel everyone in at the same time. They're stress testing. So this is the whole thing working the way it was intended. All right, let's keep moving here. Microsoft has more games slated for PS5 this year than Sony, and then in parentheses, so far. This is from Chris Compendio at GameSpot. Excuse me. Microsoft's cross-platform release strategy puts the company in a unique position this year. As it currently stands, there are more Xbox first-party games than Sony titles confirmed for a PlayStation release in 2025. The February 2025 State of Play live stream on Wednesday contained announcements for several games, but the presentation showcased very few first-party PlayStation games, instead highlighting many third-party titles like Monster Hunter Wilds and Borderlands 4. The only notable Sony-published PS5 titles shown were a Days Gone re-release, Lost Soul Aside, and Housemarque's Soros, which is scheduled for 2026. For those keeping track, and as pointed out by Eurogamer, Sony's PS5 games confirmed for 2025 are Days Gone Remastered, Lost Soul Aside, MLB The Show 25, which also releases on Xbox and Switch, Ghost of Yotei, and Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Release windows for Marvel's Wolverine, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, and Marathon from Bungie have yet to be confirmed. Marathon is supposed to come out this year. That is supposed to launch this year.
Inshallah.
Yes. We probably don't hear about it until Bungie talks about it themselves sometime around April. They do their own events like that around that time of year. So they'll talk about that then. Either way, though, I mean, I get what this is going for. That I think there was an expectation coming out of the last 2-ish years that, okay, Sony's had some time. PlayStation Studios have had some time. We didn't get a ton of games from them in 2024. So 2025 should be when a lot of things begin to hit. And that also doesn't seem to be the case. Not that I think Sony's output for 2025 is embarrassing or something like that. I think it's pretty solid. It's just,
it's fine.
Xbox has more games on the PlayStation than Sony. That's a weird thing. And I think worth being like, okay, what's going on over there? And I just think it's a combination of factors, right, Tam, where the live service strategy clearly distracted them, and making games takes longer. Is there any other thing that makes you worried that, is there some deeper problem?
No, it doesn't make me worried at all. Like I'm a normal. I think I'm largely a normal person. Like I have the ability to be normal about things. So when Microsoft is like, "Hey, we're putting this game on PlayStation," I don't automatically freak out and be like, "Oh my god, my beloved box has one less game on it or locked to it." It's just like I don't care, man. Like you could put that on anything you want. I'll play it wherever I can. It's fine. I don't think that it's a symptom of Microsoft specifically. I think it's the result of the kind of the economics of making and releasing games in 2025 in the state of the world as it is. Like, and yes, to some degree, the fortunes of Microsoft and Sony dictate where they put these games and how much outside of their own box and their own like traditional wheelhouses they go. But like if Microsoft was in a better position, like they were still like doing 360 numbers and, Halo was still as popular as it was in the Halo 3 days, they probably wouldn't be putting any of their games on,
of course,
on anywhere else. But we're not in that world. We live in a world where it is insanely expensive to make a game. And then when you release that game, for you to recoup the costs and even make a profit, you need to sell an astronomical number of copies. That would take most games. It will take maybe like 7, 8, 9, 10 years of a long tail sales kind of lifetime for you to get close to. Doesn't make sense to lock it to one thing anymore. You have to put that thing everywhere. You need to make your experience as ubiquitous as possible to stand any chance of being financially viable or stable even for the going, future. So that stability has to come at the cost of something, and it is exclusive access, and that is how it's going to be. And people are going to moan about it. That's on them. Like it's gonna happen whether you like it or not, because ultimately they need to make money. They're corporations. They want to make money. They don't care that you feel sad and bad that your green is now playable on the purple. It doesn't make any difference to them, man. Like complain all you want, it's gonna happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony started putting games on Microsoft consoles at some point.
Some here and there, some point. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like they have MLB, so like there's one. There you go. Like Sony is more focused on PC right now, which makes a lot of sense because
that's
again,
the right move.
Ubiquity, it's there. Microsoft has already been in PC, so they don't have a lot of. They're not seeing the return that they probably want from it because they created an ecosystem that involves Xbox and PC. So the only real unexplored territory is the PlayStation or even the Switch. Who knows when that comes out? And it feels like it's like capable of running decent. If it's on par with a Series S at least, they'll probably be like, hell yeah, let's put all our games on there. Let's put Game Pass on there. Let's do it because we need that money. So it's going to happen. I don't think it's an issue with Microsoft. I don't think it's an issue with Sony. I don't think one is doing better than the other leading to this. I think it is the nature of the business and the economic context which they exist in.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened was they looked at their own performance and not even relative to Sony, just like their own performance, especially Starfield. I think Starfield's clearly the one that just, okay, we're going to put out Starfield, and this is the one that is going to kind of set the tone, and it's going to be this massive, console selling game. And it wasn't. For the most part, I mean, I'm sure it's sold fine, but I don't think it changed the factor of how many Xboxes they were selling. And once they realized Starfield can't do it, nothing's going to be able to do it like we thought Starfield might. So we have to kind of shift our strategy. As far as PlayStation though, that lineup for this year, how do you feel about it? Again, it's let's see, Days, Shawn Remastered, Lost Soulside, MLB The Show 25, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2, and Marathon. That's good. When you kind of list them all out like that, that's a number of games.
A decent run. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's very clear which one of those games is the big Sony game, and it's Ghost of Yotei.
Of course.
The smash hit success of the first Ghost of Tsushima has given them plenty of reason to expect big things from this game. And I expect it's going to be really good. Like that team hasn't put out an awful game ever, as far as I can remember anyway. Like even the worst Infamous game is still pretty good. And enjoyable. And yeah, that is a solid anchor game for this year. I do think that the rest of the games around it, other than Death Stranding, are probably not as a big deal.
Right.
And I think even as someone who loves, PlayStation games and Xbox games, you generally want you want these landmark games to look forward to. And perhaps Sony doesn't have a bunch of those right now. And for me, like these, random character action game that looks like every other random character action game of today is not doing it for me. But I'm still not upset about it. Like there's still, I just don't put as much reliance on first party games being the games that I look forward to and enjoy. Like I've got Monster Hunter coming up. Like I just played a bunch of Avowed. There's a whole load of games out there that are coming out, and I'm not too worried about it.
And I think that's like what we saw in that last quarter from Sony's earnings yesterday, where it was like, that had best quarter ever. Sold a ton of PlayStation 5. So a lot of that was the PlayStation 5 Pro launched, sure. But I think a lot of people are just saying, hey, I want to play games, and I know the PlayStation's going to have them. And then they bought, and third-party games did very well in the last quarter for PlayStation. So I think, that is going to be the thing that not just carries it, but it is video games by and large.
Yeah, I do like, maybe it's unfair of me, but I do discount a lot of these conversations where it's like, Sony needs more of these games as like they're a bit like disingenuous or like they don't come in, they're not good faith kind of discussion points.
They're just narrow, they're very narrow vision of what game
they also because I feel like they are discussions that happen with the undertone of team sports, where the reason the list wars, the reason that they are mentioned is because they need to be a clip in the PlayStation ammo reserve to use against the opposition. Because if you actually cared about just having good games, you would also factor in all the third-party games, all the indie games that are coming out.
All work on PlayStation and make the PlayStation good.
Like, you would factor those in and be like, oh no, it's fine. We don't have a Spider-Man 3, but we have XYZ game, small game here, third-party game. I'm not too worried about it. But no, people specifically want, I need a Sony game because then I can lord this over someone else. And yes, there is some value to having a Sony game because, they make games that are a certain type and they have quality, institutional knowledge about the hardware, which is pushed forward. But I don't think most people are thinking about that. They're thinking about, how can I shit on Xbox fan over here, over there, whatever it may be. Like, the Warriors Abyss game come out. Banger. It's so much fun. Like, no one's really counting what it was like sitting down and being like, I'm waiting for a new Warriors game. But it's out there. Like, what are you complaining about? There's a new game. Like, it came out. Surprise. It's good. Play it.
Even if the people that aren't in the list war, they're still work backward from this point of, I spent a lot of money on this console, I'm deeply invested, I need something to make it feel special to justify that. And that's where I think the best case scenario or the best read. But I think most of the time you're right, it is something to lord over others, and that's where they feel the value comes from. And that is, you're right, disingenuous and bad faith and not really worth considering. I just think, hey, overall, games are taking longer, and it's definitely not making things easy on Sony. And obviously, live service was, at this point, I think we can call it distraction because it's not their strategy anymore, by and large. But I think a lot of this just comes down to the timing windows got shifted around, and 2026 definitely should be a really big year for PlayStation first party if that is something that you're deeply invested in.
I want to say something about one of these games.
Yeah, hit it.
Marathon. Bungie.
Yep.
I'm begging you.
Marathon.
Drop that name. Get rid of that name. Nobody gives a shit about the Marathon name other than maybe you and some 90-year-old farts, some fuddy-duddies. And you could just put any other name on there and act like it's a brand new IP. Because let me tell you, you ain't selling a lot of games based on the Marathon IP. Also, your SEO is dog shit already. Like, you are fighting decades of running people.
Yeah, the running people.
So the running people are going to beat you. Also, it's just like a bad name, like Marathon. Call it something else, man. Anything else, just not Marathon. I'm begging you. Give the game a chance by calling it any other name.
I do look forward to see how they try to position this game, and when they really start talking about it. Do they even bring up the Mac game in any explicit way? I bet they barely even reference it, if they reference it at all. I mean, I'm sure they did in that first trailer, but going forward, how does that help them? It doesn't.
What's the benefit?
Yes.
Like, there's no benefit because everyone goes, we don't care. Yeah. We don't play games on Macs.
Do I need to play that first? I got to go get a Macintosh.
It's available on PC now, but again, it's not that good, man. It wasn't that good back then either. Yes. So I don't know why you're other than this is our heritage, which who cares, man? Get over it and grow up.
Hey, that game, people used to say that was good for a Mac game, and that meant something.
Yeah. Steve Jobs cared, okay?
He didn't care about anything. All right, fading to black for a quick break. We'll be right back after this, everybody.
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I need to grab something.
All right, I'm gonna bring us back in while Tam is taking care of that. He's actually sitting down right now. There we are. Okay, I'm bringing us back in right now. Microsoft has. Oh no, I just did that one. Astrobot gets PS5 Pro support and new levels starting now. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. PlayStation has announced.
What? Nobody cares about that game. Let's move on.
Game of the Year from the DICE Awards and from the Keeleys. So hey, pretty good spread there to get both the game developers and the games journalist. PlayStation has announced that PS5 Pro support has been added to Astrobot, and the first of 5 additional levels is live in the game today. According to the PlayStation blog, the PS5 Pro support comes with a constant resolution boost while still running at 60 frames per second. The first
constant.
What's that?
Constant resolution boost?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Never stop boosting.
Yeah,
keep boosting.
It's just clear, boosting nonstop, never not boosting. The first of the 5 new levels will be added today, which is TikTok Shock. Imagine it's one of the levels using the slowdown power, slow motion.
U.S. government are coming for it.
They're
gonna be like, "Let me shut that TikTok clock thing down."
TikTok Shock, no way. The remaining ones will be released weekly on Thursdays at 6 a.m. Pacific time. It's awesome they keep supporting this game.
Yeah, and
they clearly had a plan to do that.
It's also cool that it's not just like we have a new themed level. It's actually like separate from that stuff. It's like, hey, we got an actual like level. We made this, and the kind of like selling point of it is that we made a new level, not that it's got character from X game in it. Which is good for them.
Yeah, I also like PS5 Pro support. Cool. I bet you don't see it too much. Like when you're playing the game, I bet you don't notice it because that game already ran great and looked fantastic, right?
I reviewed the PS5 Pro. Let me tell you, you don't see that thing in many games at all.
Yeah. That's just where games are at, and I think this one's going to be especially so. But whatever, people spent their money on a PS5 Pro. You want to see that the game is going to support it, and I bet these kinds of things like add up over time, right? They build up over time, Tam. Where okay, it's getting new levels, and now it's got another batch of new levels. Oh, and it supports PS5 Pro. Okay,
yeah,
and it won Game of the Year, and it just won Game of the Year from DICE. These things build up, and I think eventually it like breaks the seal on a new like tier of people who are maybe never really considering this game until all that stuff happened, and now they're more likely to buy it.
If you want to see the power of the PS5 Pro, I'll tell you exactly how you can see it, right? This is specifically how you can see it. You fire up Demon's Souls Remastered, right? You go into the first area, the tutorial. After you run through that little tunnel, run through the water and come out, there's a little corner that has a flickering flame on it. It's got like a lantern there. Keep an eye on that lantern and then fire up Demon's Souls Remastered on another PlayStation 5, an older one. Put them side by side and you will see the power of the PS5 Pro. But because let me tell you, that flame looks legit good. I stared at it. I was like, this is sick. Anyways, moving on. I was like, okay, well.
A $700 flame right there. Hell yeah.
It was.
All right, let's keep moving. Ubisoft revenues declined 31.4% to 990 million euro. This is from Sophie McAvoy at GamesIndustry.biz. Ubisoft has released its financial results for the 9 months ending December 31st. The firm remains optimistic, despite a decline in revenues and net bookings, that the upcoming release of Assassin's Creed Shadows will turn the fate around. Pre-sales of the title are reported to be tracking solidly and on par with the franchise's second highest earner, Odyssey. But just kind of across the board over there at Ubisoft, everything is down. Revenue's down. Their back catalog sales, those are down. And that's for like the last 9 months. They're down like 30%, 27%. And then for the last 3 months, things are also down pretty significantly. It really is coming down to Assassin's Creed Shadows must perform, and kind of maybe overperform. So the game has to be the best Assassin's Creed, a Game of the Year contender, and then just all that needs to then snowball into getting a bunch of people to want to buy the game. I think for them to really stand a shot of turning things around over there. I don't know.
Man, that is a rough position to be in. It's kind of like they kind of have made their own bed right now by having Assassin's Creed be a almost yearly franchise for so long that it just kind of perennially has existed in the background of video games for so long that people just will automatically know already whether they give a shit. Like, Assassin's Creed sells massively, right?
Yes.
But there's a significant group of people who are like, nah, I'm good with it. I don't need to play Assassin's Creed. I played that last one, or I played it 7 years ago. Or I played 10 years ago. I'm good. I'm done with that thing. But can this game, being a new entry in a long running franchise that has, you could arguably say, is oversaturated the market a long time ago, is like the fourth iteration of this version of the game, can that sell enough to rescue a company? I hate to say it, man. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I mean, look, best case scenario, it does really well. Well, best case scenario is it lives up to all.
I really wanted to.
Yeah, but a likely good case scenario here is it does well enough that they can point to investors and be like, "This is the kind of thing we're going to do more of," and we're on an upward trajectory once again, up and to the right. That's what you want to see. Maybe. But I also think that maybe people have felt burned by Ubisoft a number of times now. I remember years ago, Ubisoft's like, "Oh yeah, our stock price is down a little bit. Invest now because we're gonna be back." It's Ubisoft. We always come back, and then it's been kind of just declining ever since then. I think a lot of investors don't want to take a chance on this anymore. And then the alternative of like Tencent waiting in the wings to be like, "Hey, we'll take you over," but with a lot of conditions and caveats and losing control maybe for the Guillemot family, which may probably be a good thing. But still, like, it just seems like that's not what Ubisoft and the Guillemot family wants to do. So they might be forced to. Who knows how this is actually all going to play out? Either way, though, just the numbers are dire here. They're really rough.
Again, I feel like this is a company that is a victim of economics and also its own decision making, because I feel like if you had a more diverse portfolio actively in kind of like in the market, you might be in a better position. But they doubled down on one franchise and kind of like reined in the business strategy to be like chasing a certain type of game, monetization, games as a service, open world. They kind of narrowed their focus, which probably made sense back then because it was what was popular. But they did it in a way where they shut so many doors that it doesn't, none of those games are available now. None of those projects are available now in a timely manner that could help them. Like, imagine maybe it's not huge, but I imagine they might be in a better position, at least in terms of the perception around them, the optics around them, if they actively had a Splinter Cell game that was in the market, or at least looked like it was coming to the market at some point soon. But it's not like, no one believes that thing exists. They announced it, but like not seen it since. They're not even doing the thing where they show like fake stuff like they did with like Beyond Good and Evil 2 to try and juice the numbers. It's not even happening. And like, that's gone. There's no Rayman. They just took Prince of Persia, the last good one, and just like kicked it to the curb. They treated it like it was just a throwaway game when it could have been so much more. They have nothing else but Assassin's Creed to rely on. And sadly, it's a bed that the Guillemots made of their own making. They made that bed. They go to sleep in it now, which is unfortunate. And it sucks because I've said this before. I always say it. CEOs making dumbass decisions that the people below them will have to pay for. Like, Guillemots will be fine, absolutely fine. But all those people, those developers, the designers, the people who work in PR, people who work in like editorial at Ubisoft, they're going to suffer because of this. And it sucks.
It's a rough situation. They employ so many people around the world. And they've said, more restructuring is coming. So we know what that means and what that's going to look like.
How about you restructure by getting rid of a few of the executives and letting that money go elsewhere? How about that?
It's obvious like where the restructuring is needed, and it is who runs that company and has ran that company for years now. It is the Guillemot family needs to get out.
I'm not saying Tencent's going to make it better.
Yeah, of course. Who knows?
I don't think so. And I mean, like, maybe it will, but at the very least, what you can definitely say is these clowns have no idea what they're doing. Like, they have put everyone else in a real bad position. And they don't deserve that, because I know plenty of people who work there and they're incredibly talented. They're former colleagues as well. Like, they're people who used to work at GameSpot and, contribute to a lot of stuff on Giant Bomb and like various other parts of the industry as well. And it's just like, you didn't deserve this, man.
They did point out one positive. The Crew Motorfest has having like the most players at one time that's ever had, I think, or something like that. Was session days increasing by 38% year on year. So, hey, shout outs to Motorfest. That's not a bad game.
Good for you. Good for you.
So yeah, Ubisoft got here by kind of overdoing it with open world and live service games. Right?
Oh my god!
There was Avatar. There's Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws. I like both those games, but clearly like they did not hit an audience. They were big and massive, expensive, and they have several live service games that have failed. So let's get to this next story, Tam. Ubisoft CEO says the plan is to focus on open world and live service games year after year. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The CEO of Ubisoft says the publisher is focusing mainly on open-world action-adventure games and live service games in the coming years. During a Q&A following a presentation on the company's financial results for Q3 of its 2024-2025 financial year, one caller asked if the executives on the panel could shed more light on their development pipeline going forward. Yves Guillemot replied that the focus was mainly going to be on open-world adventures like Assassin's Creed and live service games like Rainbow Six Siege or the Crew Motorfest for the foreseeable future. We have been investing significantly for a big pipeline of products for the coming years along our two verticals, these being open-world action-adventure as well as games as a service native experiences. And that's what we want to deliver year after year. They're cooked, dude.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's
stupidest
insane.
Idiots. Like, hey, Eve, your company released a game called Far Cry 3. Fire that bad boy up. There's a character in there called Voss. He's going to tell you something. It's going to begin with, do you know what the definition of insanity is? Just let that one play out for a little bit. Just play that game. It's a banger. Just listen to that for a bit and then play the rest of the game. There's a weed burning bit in it. It's cool. But maybe you'll learn something. There's some elite dumbass shit happening there. It's unbelievable.
It's just crazy, like even to just to say it, let alone do it. Yeah, you got to be like, oh, we're trying some other stuff. We have other ideas, other irons in the fire, and no, it's like, and it's the same irons, the ones that got us here.
Yeah. It's just like, how are you convincing the people who are gonna decide what happens next that there is better times coming when you're saying you're gonna do the things that you just did that is failing?
It's not even. They're not even like promising that. Oh, we're gonna bring the Ubisoft innovation that we're known for to bear on the genres, and we are going to like do new things in it that are exciting in the open world and live service space. He's like, just no, we're going to do more of this year after year. It's a crazy thing to say to investors when you're trying to convince them that you're going to be different in the future.
Say you're gonna follow up on the success of Rainbow Six Siege with a new entry in that franchise. You're going to take the Siege model and make it bigger and better, right? Because Siege was a smash hit success and it has like powered your esports and all that kind of stuff, and it's beloved and that kind of stuff. Try that. I don't know. Say Sam Fisher is definitely back. Here's a bit of gameplay.
Yep.
And try anything else. Say Rayman is back. Yep. Whatever you want. No. What are you going to do there?
The only other thing they did mention here is Anno 117 Pax Romana.
I'm sure that's going to save them.
Yeah, they're city building games. That's a little different, right? I bet that has live service stuff in it. And then they're going to do some more stuff on mobile. All of this is coming along well. We haven't provided more color for fiscal year 2026, but we will have more to share by the time of May. And as I've just said, we have a strong platform for future years across these two verticals.
It's never been more clear how out of touch these people are. It is unbelievable. This is definitely dementia.
Yeah, it's French dementia too, which is really rough.
Fucking just no idea French what dementia. You just said.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going here. Why some fans are cheering the return of loot boxes in Overwatch 2. This is from Kenneth Shepard over at Kotaku. One of the funny things about being entrenched in a games community for years is that you sometimes forget how it might look to someone on the outside. That happened to me this week when Blizzard announced it would be bringing back loot boxes to Overwatch 2 in Season 15 after dropping the mystery cosmetic packs when the sequel launched in 2022. When I saw that, my immediate thought was, oh, so the people who wanted those back finally got what they wanted. And then I mentally moved on to the next thing. Kenneth goes on here, right, to explain, like, oh, this must look weird to people who aren't into Overwatch 2, who are like, wait, why is everyone cheering loot boxes again? What's going on? Have I slipped into some other dimension? And it's like, no, this is the one game where everyone's like, that was just better. Mostly because you could earn enough free currency to get a free loot box once every couple of days if you were playing regularly. And that felt like a pretty fair thing versus what it became, which was really expensive items in the shop. And you kind of couldn't grind out free things over time. Although, of course, it's always like, oh, so what's better than that? It's just random gambling and hoping you get what you want in a loot box. It's like, well, turns out, yes, that's the case. You were like huge into Overwatch. You were, I know a lot of Overwatch fans felt this way, that the loot boxes were better than what they went to. Were you in that crowd?
Yeah, I mean, the loot boxes were not. I feel like early Overwatch days, the loot boxes were a thing that would make you feel good about playing. And you didn't necessarily need to buy them. I did buy a few times, but it was mainly because it was like, I have now played this game for 100 hours. I'm going to spend a bit of money, kick them some money every now and then to make sure that the wheels are still greased and they can keep making stuff. It didn't feel predatory is the thing. That's not to say it wasn't predatory, because it still existed at a time when people were using loot boxes to be predatory in a lot of ways. But the predatory nature of how you monetize games shifted in a way that now Overwatch 2 reflects. And it was the Counter-Strike global offensive skins market that went into the Valorant shop system, which both together basically made it so you would buy a skin for like $30 to $40 baseline, and if you wanted a really good one, like in Counter-Strike, you could find a skin that you could then sell for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I know at least one person, my younger brother actually, who like got a skin, sat on it, and then sold it and built himself a new PC just with the kind of like money he got out of that, and I had money left over, and I was like, damn.
Holy crap.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. But I think he also fucking tricked me into sending him that skin, because I had that skin on my calendar. So he was like, this skin sucks. Can I have it? I like sent it to him, and he was like,
another PC.
Multiple.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. You could have just told me you were going to do that. I would have given it to you.
I think I got a skirt in early PUBG that I sold for $15, of Steam credit. I didn't go any of the outside
when PUBG first came out, they gave press a series of like skin stuff, like equipment that was exclusive to press only for a really long time. That shit was crazy expensive if you sold it on the Steam marketplace. It was like selling for a few grand.
Yep. PUBG had a wild economy.
That shit was just like rotting in my inventory for years, and I was like, I don't give a shit about this. I don't know anyone that sold it, but fucking I remember hearing stories about how much that thing cost to buy. It was wild.
All right, last story here. AMD to introduce the world to the Radeon RX 9000 series at the end of the month. We'll see how this all pans out, but February 28th, they're going to have a show to showcase these new GPUs that will be meant to compete with the RTX 5000 from NVIDIA. Although, enthusiasts in this space are kind of all agree, don't expect anything that's going to compete with like the 5090 and probably not even the 5080. AMD has just kind of given up the fight on the high end, which is one of the reasons why people are so disappointed with the 5080. It's because NVIDIA doesn't seem like they're worried about what AMD is going to do. That said, 5080 is $1,000. Most people do not buy graphics cards that are that expensive. And once you get kind of below that point, anything like 700 and below, AMD does compete really well. And actually does keep the prices down a little bit, and probably will have really good alternatives. I think, the problem just continues to be, if you want to run a game at like 1440, 60, there's a lot of graphics cards out there that are already going to do that very well. And then if you want to like get the extra little gizmos on top, like ray tracing, well, then you kind of are stuck back going over to NVIDIA.
Yeah,
their ray tracing stuff's just better.
When I look at AMD, I think that it is competitive, but I think of it as competitive in a responsible way.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to match NVIDIA, because AMD isn't the same kind of company that NVIDIA is. NVIDIA, I don't know if people are paying attention, but NVIDIA is one of the most valuable companies in the world right now, because it is not just making graphics cards. It is like head of the spear on AI and like various other chip manufacturing stuff. They are like company number one when it comes to that kind of stuff. So AMD isn't capable of making a graphics card that also is, loaded with AI driven technology that will, generate frames to make things run better. And they're not set up to responsibly compete in that market. And if they tried to, I imagine it would probably sink them pretty quickly. It's just like NVIDIA is punching so far above anyone else's weight that you just cannot compete with them. Which honestly, good for them. Like they make good graphics cards. They make good tech.
And they made early investments in AI, and a lot of stuff was like, hey, for consumer GPUs, and it turned out that paid off real well for this whole other business. Yeah.
The hope is that they also don't price out people and become like, they're too expensive for most average people. Because then that would mean people will start looking elsewhere. And AMD is already a good option. If you want a good graphics card that isn't too expensive.
I mean, Intel's becoming a really good option at the entry level. Like, so yeah, there's competition there.
Yeah. And NVIDIA also has some like lower kind of priced graphics cards that are still very good. Like you can buy, I think, a 3080 now for relatively cheap. And it still runs games really, really well. I know because I have a 3080 in one of my PCs, and pretty much every recent game that's come out.
Yeah, that's what I use on this PC on the TV over here.
Yeah,
it works great.
Yeah, same. Like I have the two PCs hooked up to that TV over there, and I just a lot of the times I'll use the one that has the 3080 in it, because it's just like I don't need to fire up this more powerful like PC. Just leave it as it is, and there are options out there. It's just AMD is not able to kind of compete with NVIDIA, because NVIDIA isn't making graphics cards anymore. It is defining and innovating technology and hardware and chips and AI and algorithms in a way that makes them not a company that makes graphics cards. They make cars. Because I went to an NVIDIA event, and they were showing off what the new graphics cards are being used for.
Yep, AI and cars.
They were showing us things. They were AI and cars. They also showed us this lengthy kind of presentation on how they've like built an AI model that lets you effectively plan out how factories work, and you can integrate AI to help people more efficiently work in factories. And it's had like a lot of these little drones just knocking about, moving things away around, and people moving in between them. And I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. So, and like that, and like buildings, like architecture, that's what NVIDIA makes now.
Yep. And when they do focus on like the AI business, they are selling like cards that are $10,000, not the $1,000, $2,000, 5090. They're selling one card that's $10,000, and they're selling 10,000 of those cards to one vendor at a time. Like, that was the thing, like DeepSeek, the Chinese AI company. They bought like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of NVIDIA GPUs apparently, or something like that. And it's like, that's just one company.
Love that for them.
Oh yes, exactly. And all these companies are doing the same thing. There are massive investments, and NVIDIA is kind of the only company really providing the chips for that kind of AI in a lot of ways. Although, that one of the things DeepSeek apparently did was find ways to get that stuff to run better on less powerful GPUs. So.
DeepSeek is one of the funniest moments in recent tech history, where they were just like, we did it. It's cheaper. These people who are telling you AI is expensive and only they can do it, they're lying.
Yep.
See ya.
All right. I got a poll question from yesterday. Let's get to it. Grade the state of play, where 4 stars is the highest. let's see here. We'll work our way up. 1 star. 11% of respondents gave it 1 star. Let's see. 37% of respondents gave it 2 stars. 47% gave it 3 stars, and then 5% gave it 4 stars. So, the bell curve is weighted more towards the lower side, but the plurality of people agree 3 stars. Almost half said 3 stars, which is what I voted for, Tam. I think that showcase was pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say
not everything for me, but pretty good overall.
Yeah, I'd say 3 is about right.
Yeah. About right. All right. We got the results from that. I have a new poll question we'll get to here in a second. Before we do that, though, Tam, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
You can find me everywhere at Tamoor H. I am on Instagram as Tamoor H. Please follow me for various life reasons that will help me massively. And I'm on Blue Sky, TamoorH.com. Twitch is Tamoor H. I'm all Tamoor H everywhere, man. I'm all over that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. New poll question. What March games are you most looking forward to? Your options are Split Fiction, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Suikoden 1 and 2 Remaster, and the first Berserker Kazan, starring Ben Starr. There you go. We'll get the results of that. Talk about it on Game S Mornings here on Giant Bomb on Monday. Trying to think.
But if you want to hear actual discussion about Split Fiction,
yes,
you can go watch Rising Revengeance, Metal Gear Solid Giant Bomb Revengeance.
How's that possible, Tam? How that game's not out yet? How will we possibly be able to talk about it?
Previews.
Tam went to go play that. Nikki went to go play it. So
Nikki, Jan, Lucy, we were there playing it, but I think it'll be me and Nikki talking about it.
Yep. We'll also be talking about Avowed. Tam, you've been playing that as well. I'm looking forward to that conversation. And then we'll have Nathan Grayson on to talk about his book, Stream Big. It's about Twitch. That'll all be happening at 1 p.m. Eastern, so about an hour from now. Look forward to that. Additionally, we'll have a UPF after that, and then everyone should go enjoy their Valentine's Day. That's what I say.
I have got my Valentine ready.
Oh,
it's right here.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. Look at that beauty. There it is.
Look at that.
That's Peggy 16. Excuse me, Bloodborne. Yeah.
The love of my life.
You guys,
beautiful.
You look so happy together. Oh, look at that.
Oh, just took that was just for me.
Yeah. Just gotta keep it a tease. Keep it a tease.
I do have a side piece though.
Oh yeah?
I got a little side piece. Yeah, there we go. Look.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Man, that's
a side piece.
That's pretty good too. Dark Souls. Okay. All right. Tam, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games despite your torrid love affair with the FromSoftware library.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. All right, off of YouTube.